Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. What's going on, everybody? This is Frankie Slauson here for a special bonus edition of Renegade Radio. Where, as you know, right now we're taking a break between the season 5 and transitioning into season 6 here next month, Monday, January 12th. But we just had our recent season 5 finale episode a couple weeks ago. But now we're going to do some bonus interviews, and I got to do something to keep me occupied between the breaks. And this was somebody who I originally wanted on kind of the last few episodes and whatnot, but because of his scheduling and everything and whatnot, we had to make it work somehow. And so with me, I got a guy who was on the show almost 2 years ago. Well, you were on about February of 2024, I think, or January 2024. You've probably been interviewed so many times by so many different people, you have no idea. You don't remember, probably.
Yeah. Dude,
anyway.
I'm floating through space. I'm like an asteroid, and I bump into other asteroids, and then they ask me why I started comedy, and then I go, I don't know, and then I hit another asteroid, and they ask me why I started comedy, and then I'll make something up. It'll be great.
Well, we're honored to have you again to be a returning guest because you've been doing so much stuff in the comedy world, lately, and I've been keeping track of you. And so hoping one day you make it up here to the North Dakota area, or at least to Grand Forks or Fargo, because I'm the guy who keeps telling you to show up over here, but you never seem to get up here. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's funny, North Dakota, I think there's 5 states, and that's counting Washington, D.C., where actually, you know what? I have performed in Washington, D.C. So I mean, I think there's 5 states I haven't done. I think it's like North Dakota, I think maybe Delaware or something. I don't know.
Sure.
There's like a few of them, very, very few of them that I haven't been to. And I actually have it in my notes app. I'm like, book something in Fargo. I think it was either you or somebody else I was talking about was pressing about booking something in Fargo.
Because you do so well around this area. People love new comedians, and Fargo's a good area for that. Grand Forks is a good area for that. Hell, you're I'm only like 20 minutes from a little town called Thief River Falls, Minnesota, which has an event center, and I don't understand why they don't look for you. I don't get that.
There's a lot of I'm very grateful for where I'm at. There's also a lot of other comedians that are at a similar level to me, where we're kind of the next generation, maybe, and we're growing. Like, I have a decent social media following, but it's hard to say like how things are going to break. And it's I have the places I go every year, and it's between the places I want to go, and also the comedy ticket sales as a whole are down across the industry. And so I'm less likely to try to go into new markets right now because I can, as a independent contractor, like I could just lose my ass at any moment. So I'm trying not to do that.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got Sam Miller with us, and we are so happy and honored to have you on because, like I said, it's been a couple of years almost, and we've been growing too. Our podcast and stuff has been growing. And awesome. Before we get really underway, I have kind of a surprise for you because I remember last time when you were on the show, you talked about how much of a big wrestling fan you are.
Oh, right? Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before I talk about my surprise for you, how far back does your knowledge go?
Honestly, I was mostly late 90s WCW, WWF. I started doing drugs in like 2000 and around 2000, and then they really took up most of my time. But I am up on some of the history. I've read books, What's It by the Masked Man? I read that that book he wrote. That's pretty great. Yeah. But I know a little bit, but it can be spotty. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you ever watch early WCW, like 90s, like early 90s, like the Clash Champions on TBS time period?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
We only had 2 channels growing up, so.
Sure. Well, I remember you were saying that you were a big fan of Cactus Jack or Mick Foley.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Well, no, well, he's not with us, so no.
No. But yeah. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Mick Foley.
Okay, well, I have somebody who used to tag team with us, who's actually a member of my crew, who was actually a real member of my crew, who joined the crew here a few months ago, or back in like October, and he's going to join us for the season 6 as well. He's in the room right now with us. I kind of kept him as a surprise.
That's
I hope
awesome.
you know who he is, because if you talk about WWF and WCW, well, I'll just let him speak for himself. Here he is.
Hey, man, I have heard of you. Let's go.
Perfect.
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Yeah.
I invited Max.
Nice to meet you, my
like
friend.
I said.
Nice to meet you too, man. Yeah. I've come to the realization that when people talk about my comedic influences, I'd love to say Robin Williams and stuff like that, when the reality is that my comedic influences are all professional wrestlers. So
that's not,
well, Max,
Roddy Piper, such a funny son of a bitch. It's easy to understand why you would say that.
Yeah,
can
hilarious.
You,
a lot of wrestlers.
Can you explain, Max, to Sam kind of how you and Mick got together to be a tag team? Just so he kind of
the funny part, Mick and I think what happened was I think it was probably quite coincidental. If I'm not mistaken, we were working at Disney, and they needed an alternative, and some genius son of a bitch said, "Hey, what about Mick Foley and that crazy son of a bitch Max Payne?" And somebody goes, "Oh yeah." And so that's kind of how it started, I believe. I don't think it was as succinct as, and then Mick and I had already gotten along really well. And so we ended up just, doing the road together and spent a lot of time on the road together outside of working with each other. And we just ended up becoming, pretty good friends. And so it seemed only a logical progression to end up being, tag team.
Can you let Sam know some of the people that you guys faced?
Well, without a doubt, our most famous run was with the Nasty Boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that. In fact, I think I read somewhere that the Chicago Street Fight is like the 4th greatest tag team match in history, and because that was pretty nutty. So primarily, we fought against a lot of people. Our tag team was relatively short-lived, but man, it was a pleasure working with Mick. Mick's one of those guys that, I loved going down the road with Mick, and he and I just, even though Mick doesn't party, he's far from a drug addict. I'm the opposite of that. I'm the guy who, dove in the deep end all the time, but
yeah.
Sort of keep me on not necessarily the right side of the law, but I just didn't need to when I was with him, because he didn't party at all. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't, I honestly don't think he's ever done a drug except for like an aspirin, and he probably had to call a doctor and make sure that wouldn't defy his drug policy, because he's really a straight-laced guy. And quite honestly, he's one of those people who, he doesn't need to do drugs because he's already really fucked up anyway. And so
here's a question.
When you travel down the road with him,
I got a question for you, Max. There's a guy I worked for, I worked for a guy in Illinois, and his name's Frankie the Chi-Town Hitman. Do you know him? You ever work with him?
Yeah, it's a little delay.
You cut out, man. I'm for some reason my system is not working.
Yeah, you kind of come back into the room there, Max, or whatever.
If fix that. Okay, what was the name of the guy?
Frankie the Chi-Town Hitman.
Frankie the Chi-Town Hitman. I do not know Frankie the Chi-Town Hitman. I'm sorry.
Oh, that rules.
Yeah, unless very well he could have gone by other names. That's a great name, though.
I worked for him. It was funny. He wrestled in WCW for a little bit too. He booked a comedy show out in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. He runs a carpet cleaning company now. He's outside of not being able to walk, he's doing pretty well. So
what's funny is, being a big motherfucker, I'm pretty shocked that they didn't try recruiting your ass off from the beginning, because not only are you funny, but being big, it's funny that they didn't, go, dude, come get in the ring.
I did mess around a little bit in high school with some backyard stuff. But I played some football, and frankly, man, I'm kind of a big wuss, man. That shit hurts.
I totally get it, man.
Yeah, I'm good, but I would have done it because I do like attention though. So,
well,
yeah, that's part. But you got to be able to put up with the pain. Sometimes that's the hard. That is the hard part about wrestling. Is you get in the shit and you think everybody tells you the shit's all fake until you get in it and you go, what?
Hell no. Yeah.
Well, Max is going to join us for the remainder of the interview anyway.
How does something fake? And then
I love this delay stuff. I love
when the first thing people always say to you, "Hey, that's fake, right?"
Yeah. Max is going to join us for the interview.
Let me check off. Let me back and see if
Frankie, probably restart.
I think that might be what's going on. Maybe I've just got to
restart the iPad. I think he's got an iPad or something. All right. I'll come on back.
Yeah, all these wrestlers got bad Wi-Fi. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. Well,
because of all that, he's probably got a shitload of screws and plates in his body, and it interferes with the signal.
Well, normally he has a good signal when we do the show, when we do the live show and everything, and normally everybody does. It's just that he probably hasn't used it in a while, so who knows?
I'm good friends with Frankie, and what's funny is I've gotten to chatting with MVP on the Instagram. He started following me on Instagram. I was in Eugene, Oregon, and it's social media is funny because these people, but you don't know these people. Like he sees a comedy video and he follows me, and I'm like, oh shit, like MVP is following me. I'm gonna shoot him a message and thank him for following me. And before you know it, we're kind of talking about like what it means to be an artist, whether you're beating the piss out of each other or you're doing a comedy show in Eugene. You know what I'm saying? Is it like there's a similar pressure. I sponsor a dirt track stock car. I also like dirt track stock car racing.
I remember you saying that before too. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know really any stock car guys, but other than my other crew member John, he announces in Grand Forks when they have the at the Red River Rally or the Grand Forks Speedway.
Oh hell yeah, dude, that rules.
Yeah. But he wasn't able to get on. I was going to have him join us too today, but
that would have been good. You have a wrestler and a race car driver.
Yeah, it would have been a complete fantasy, complete dream, right?
Yeah.
No, I just figured I'd surprise you with that because I remember how much you were talking about how much you like wrestling, and you were wearing a Cactus Jack, the legendary Cactus Jack shirt that everybody sold pretty well back in the day during the Shock Zone days and everything.
I actually found that it's a 5X, and I found it at a thrift store in Olympia, and I was so happy. Because first off, it fits me, and second off, he is my favorite wrestler. He's one of my favorite people. We actually work a lot of the same venues. He tours around and does all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And, it's interesting. I actually read. I'm glad you're back, Max. I can tell you this story. Mick Foley's book, Have a Nice Day. I actually read it when I was in jail. And it's the only book that I ever read in jail. When I got out, I read it again. And you got to be a good book to get me to read a book when I'm not in jail. It's got to be good,
Right. It's an amazing book.
Yeah, it's not, I always try to explain this to folks while you were gone, is it, whether people believe it or not, and I believe this 100%, that professional wrestling is an art, and
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
we're artists, and I tell jokes about my wiener, and you beat the piss out of people, and that's our art. And what's cool about it is that there's similar reasons why we do it, and there's similar feelings we have when we do it. You know what I mean? Like dealing with the ups and downs, is something that I struggle with. Like it's hard being away from my family, but it's also hard coming back to my family after I've been on the road for a while. Like that's my struggle. I don't really have that many issues being funny on stage. I was funny before I did comedy, and if I quit doing comedy, I'd still be funny.
It's funny how a lot of people will say that, as far as comedians, that you find out that some, are struggling with all types of things. I mean, yeah, obviously everybody's human being, obviously, but but to like when you talk about Robin Williams and stuff, that guy was always funny, and a lot of us didn't know the shit that he was going through mentally or physically or whatever. And it feels weird because you figure, well, this guy's a comedian. Even though, yeah, he did a lot of some serious roles as well, but it's like, it's just weird how a lot of comedians like yourself, if it's just struggle with money or if it's struggle with loneliness or whatever, I mean, there's a positive to everything, but it's like you figure that you guys would be more positive. But I guess it's a weird world we live in, I guess.
Well, sure. Isn't that the whole? I mean, I just actually, Sam, I was an honor. I didn't get to finish your stand-up you just did back in November, and you're amazing, brother. I will tell you, you're funny as hell. And that's the plight of all of us, is the thrill of the pop. It's that going out there, the energy that comes from feeding off of an audience. That's the art form of what it is, no matter whether it's wrestling or comedy or rock and roll, but the big dilemma here's with wrestling, this is what it ended up, is really the hardcore part of wrestling, is that being around like rock and roll guys, a lot of times they would compare wrestling to rock and roll. And quite frankly, at that time in my life, when I was fucking balls deep in being a wrestler, it pissed me off because, the difference, like they would say, yeah, God, we live on the road and you live out of a hotel and you get up every day and you go to do this and you go to do that. I said, look, I will agree with that struggle in a lot of ways, but there's one thing that you're missing. So if you really want to feel what it feels like to be a fucking wrestler, the next time you go to get on your fucking tour bus, stop at the door and throw your feet out from underneath you and land on your back 10 times. And then fucking get in the bus. And do that every night before you get on the bus, for a month. And then call me and let's have that discussion again. Because that was always the fucking hardcore part about wrestling, is, it was the ultimate dichotomy once I got really into it, is because we started to talk about this earlier. People assume it's fake. Yet every time I left the ring, I was in pain. Every time I get hurt, and you learn to work in pain, and hence the reason so much of my music is filled with dealing with pain, and then presumed that it's all fake. That's always the biggest dilemma of wrestling. You constantly have that, but the pop so overcomes everything else. You end up learning to deal with that. And I obviously I don't have that anger any longer. So forgive me if in any way you felt like I was talking to anybody other than a wrestler. But that's the thing that was always such a struggle for me, was dealing with how much I loved the pop of the crowd, but what it was, the cost I was paying on a daily basis to be a wrestler.
Yeah, the cost that I pay is mostly just being away from the family, and then also dealing with the chaos of,
that's a huge cost.
Yeah, and a lot of times when I'm on the road with comedy, like I was telling Frankie, like probably about 3/4 of my shows now are people that I've worked for before, and I'm coming back there for a reason because I like them and I trust them, and I feel like we're gonna do okay, you know. But a lot of my money, man, I'm getting door splits, you know, and I'll try to get guarantees, I'll try to get that, but man, like I can lose my ass, and it does happen sometimes, you know. When I get, you know, people are like, because when you're a newer comic, I remember the first time somebody gave me like $100 for doing a comedy show, and I'm like, oh man, $100, let's go, this is great. Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing: if I spent $600 on a flight, $300 on a rental car, you know, and all of a sudden that $100 ain't very much, you know, it just ain't that much. But
Sure. But I suppose in the early days, I mean, it's like,
Right.
hey, that must be working, you know. I mean, this will turn into something bigger.
yeah,
Eventually.
and I still do, you know, it's funny, I'm actually doing a show up in Seattle tomorrow, and I'll probably get paid $100 or whatever, but also that's an hour drive and I'm working for a friend of mine and nobody else is getting rich. Like that's the shit that kills me. And I know you got to deal with that, Max. Is it back in the day? It's like, I don't like it when it's my blood and my sweat and my tears, and then some other dude's getting a big paycheck for what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like that's a thing. Some of these clubs and stuff, you know, some of these promoters, the last thing they have on their mind is a good comedy show. All they see is money, you know, and that's, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with people making money in this industry. But also, you can miss me with that shit, man. I'm good. I'll just go work someplace else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Well, what
Wrestling's the same way, man.
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is just the fact that, you know, I just wish that you'd just come down to the close to the area, because I know that that you'd have a lot of fun around here, and there's so many different venues, and you know, people love independent people around here. It's not just about being like, we want everybody to be successful, but I mean, like, if you're an independent artist, especially more than you are. I mean, of course, they treat the richer people a little bit better, but if you're an independent artist and you're trying to get an audience around the Fargo area, around the Grand Forks area, there are people who are starving for that need your type of comedy, because there's a lot of people that can relate. You know, you and Max have a lot in common when it comes to the drug usage. You know, and that's obviously not why I wanted you guys both on here, but I mean, it's a similar story, and you probably relate to half your audience anyway. You know, going through something that you're similarly going through. But you see, the only thing that's different is you have the balls to make fun of yourself, while most people don't. You know.
You know, it's funny, while we're talking, I'm actually looking at Fargo. I'll figure it out. It's just I just gotta.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you will. I mean, I don't mean to nag to you about that.
No, I don't feel like you're nagging me, dude. That's the best feeling in the world when people want to see me do what I do. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
I just want to meet you. I feel like you'd be a lot of fun to hang out with. You know, show you around town or whatever. You know, be your tour guide.
I'm kind of weird. I don't want to burst your bubble, dude, but I'm kind of weird. Like,
I'm weird too.
Not very fun to hang out with me. I say weird shit at the wrong time to all kinds of people.
I'm
not like mean. I'm not mean or cruel or gross. A lot of the shit that I think is funny doesn't make sense. And yeah, I don't know. And also I kind of like chaos too. I kind of like it when shit goes sideways. I was just at a comedy festival, and it was 90% good, but 10% chaos, and man, I was into it, dude. So
spent some time with me at my job as a security guard in a casino for 10 hours a day.
Oh, forget
we come up with some weird shit, you know.
Yeah. Max just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him.
I'm seeing if I can.
You must have turned your video off anyway. We can still hear your audio. Anyway, but yeah, you've had a pretty good year here, Sam. I mean, holy crap! I mean, just like all the stuff that you've been up to, and then you filmed a new special in Astoria, Oregon, which I was so jealous about, because I had been to the Liberty Theater before, and that is such a nice little venue over there. How were you able to? Did you just know the right person to say, "Hey, this is where I want to do the next special"?
There's a guy out there. I'm blanking on his name right now. I did a show there. And you know, God, why can't I remember his name? Anyway, a friend of mine just booked a show there. I went and I performed at the Liberty Theater, and probably the same experience you had, Frankie, when you walk into that place. You're like, man, this is just a beautiful old theater. And being in the Northwest, this is the thing that trips me out when when I spend time in Chicago or I spend time in New York or on the East Coast, is just how much older things are. Like an old building around here is like in the early 1900s. Whereas in on the East Coast, I just did a show in Chicago at Thalia Hall, which was, it was a building built in the 1800s. Like it was like 1864 was when they built that place. But anyway, you go into that theater and it's just really unique. The show was great. I draw well in that area, and I was like, I immediately called Dan Schlissel, the CEO of Stand Up Records and also the producer of my comedy specials, and I was like, hey man, I got an idea. Like, what if we record the next album special in Astoria? And here's the thing too, man, I don't know if you know this or not, Frankie, but like the way I'm doing it is different than a lot of comics, because most comics, when they record a special, they'll do a smaller venue and do like 4 shows and then mix it all together. Both of my specials have been like, you got one shot. You know what I mean? And what that forces me to do is I'll spend 4 or 5 months just doing the same set every night, really honing it in, because I don't really have an opportunity to do it any other way. And now it's funny because now I've kind of painted myself into a corner for the third special, because like I can't go down to like a smaller venue. So we'll have to see, now I gotta keep it going with these damn theaters.
No, and Astoria, Oregon is such a beautiful town. I mean, the Goonies, Kindergarten Cop, freaking Lamplighter Inn is where I stayed both times I went down there. And above is where the circus house is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's right there next to the ocean too. That's the other thing is I'm actually planning, I work a lot in the Savage Henry Comedy Club, which is actually a place where Mick Foley goes out there in Eureka. And I look forward to I'm going to try to book Astoria and then drive all the way down 101, because there's moments with this job. Like I complain about the driving and I complain about the travel. But man, I've had so many moments where I'm on the road and I'm just like, man, how lucky am I to get to seeing a sunrise or a sunset? I've I've swam in the Gulf of Mexico or whatever they're calling it now. I don't like any presidents, for the record. Okay, they can all.
That's okay. We're not a political show either, but some of the people that we have on, they are pretty much all Republican, but it doesn't.
Well, I've been talking, man. What's funny is like I tour the country. I work blue states. I work red states. And a cool thing is that everybody hates rich pedophiles, and that's nice,
Yeah.
And,
that's one. I think that's one common ground we can all fucking share, right?
Rich
pedophiles just don't fucking fit in anybody's book.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you something else. I don't even like broke pedophiles.
I know a few of those.
When you were talking, Sam, are you talking about Eureka, California?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So I grew up in that area because.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, my not tech. I wasn't born and raised there, but I was an oops in my family by like 12 years, and so I was like an only child. Yeah. And all of my brothers ended up. My oldest brother moved to Fortuna and lived in Fortuna, and he was an oiler for like he worked on all the logging equipment.
Oh yeah.
And so he was a machinist, and so we did that, and so he moved there, and then of course all my brothers underneath him followed him there, and so my whole family was there. And then my oldest brother has 2 children older than me, so I'm Uncle Daryl to, two fucking nephews and a nephew and a niece that are
Yeah.
older than me, So,
Yeah.
my brother would invite me in the summers to come and live with him in Northern California, and that's like the true Northern California, not
It's
Sacramento.
different. Yeah.
And then the redwoods, man,
Yeah.
to live amongst the redwoods is just such a privilege. And the Northwest in general, because I was just going to say, I went to school in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and so I traveled all over the Pacific Northwest, because the school that I wrestled for there, all of our competition was like Hood River and Grays Harbor, and
Yeah, dude.
so I spent all of my time on the west coast of Washington and Oregon. So
Yeah.
I love that area, man. I couldn't agree with you more, man. When you start traveling around and you get to see those gorgeous places,
Yeah.
and you kind of got to pinch yourself sometime and go, how lucky. I mean, wrestling did that for me. I got to live all over the world, from Japan to Europe, and that's the amazing part. Again, part of the thrill of the pop, isn't it, Sam? You get to travel all over the world and see things you've never seen before. I mean, I remember the first time I got off a plane in Japan, I literally had to pinch myself and go, "You got to be fucking kidding me! I'm about to live in Japan."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's those moments where you just go, this is what I'm thankful for. This is why I did the job, man, is for the exact moments like that.
Yeah. I just had one of those in Chicago. I love Chicago. I've always done well in Chicago. I got the probably the biggest, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because this is like a career milestone, as I got to headline at Zany's Comedy Club in Chicago, which is like it's like the legacy club in Chicago. And it's like, you're on stage, and like, it's funny because the whole place is covered in headshots. It's a small club. It only sits like 130, I think. But, doing 2 shows a night there and having, 3 of them sold out, and like on stage and like doing what I love and doing it at a high level, and then looking out and at the headshots. And it's honestly hard to find comedians I look up to that aren't on that wall. Like pretty much everybody, from Seinfeld to, my personal favorite, like Mitch Hedberg and Norm Macdonald, not only did they work Zany's, but they loved working at Zany's.
Right.
And I don't know, you get those moments. And I also got to bring my wife with me for the first. She had never been to Chicago.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, she got to come with me for 3 days, and that was really nice. Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty special, man. And so Savage Henry Comedy Club in Eureka, California, is the first comedy club to ever headline me.
Wow.
And I've been going there. I've been doing comedy there probably twice a year for 7 or 8 years now. So I've probably been there over a dozen times. And what's funny is the last time I was there, I managed to sell it out for the first time. And what a trip, man. What a weird place, man. It's great. It's just hippies with guns, man. What else do you want,
Yeah, that part of the country, the Emerald Triangle, and people don't realize, it's funny because most people don't understand the state dynamic of that part of the state of California. Most people don't realize that part of California was kept in recluse so that it could be the weed grower for the rest of the state of California. California Centimillion was such a huge part of California long before it was legal. The funny part about it, and there's no freeways in and out of Eureka.
No, it's 101's out there, man.
Right. 101.
And that part of 101 is really isolated too. It's funny how it's really far away. What's strange too is that even from Eugene, Oregon down to Sacramento, there's just not a lot of people. You have the Willamette River Valley, which is like, it's from Portland down to Eugene there.
Right.
And then after that, like, that's kind of it. Because I just did comedy in Ashland outside of Medford, Oregon there, which is a weird place too. I was really into it. I had a good time this weekend.
Yeah, that's like that. It's so true. Like when like I said, growing up there, you find out the dynamics of the weed growing population. Like everybody in Northern California grows weed. It just, it got to the point where you just assumed that everybody that either worked at a lumber mill, which finally ended up closing, Pacific Lumber, which was the world's biggest redwood lumber factory, finally ended up closing down as well because of environmental reasons. And then people still had money there, and everyone knew why they had money.
Yeah.
And it was just so crazy. So I have to ask you. So then, since you're selling out buildings, so I'm guessing, since Sebastian, I can never say his last name right, just did the United Center. I'm guessing that's your next booking then, is the United Center.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I got to return their email. They've been blowing up my inbox.
Oh.
Yeah. They're actually going to have me do halftime at a Bulls game. I'll be like that lady with the plates on the or some shit.
That's so crazy, man. Comedians are, filling, arenas of that size, and I mean, God bless the fact that that's happening, because it can't happen to a nicer bunch of people, because comedians are such an essential part of who we are as human beings, not just as a, and so I love to see that. But it's an amazing phenomenon, isn't it?
We're having, it's funny you said that, because it is interesting. You do have these people that are selling arenas out, like you have your Shane Gillis's, your your Chappelle's, but comedy right now as an industry feels really top heavy. Like there's these superstars that are doing these enormous venues, and there's a big gap between them and even the people above me. You know what I'm saying? Like those folks that can do that blow up, and it's really interesting right now to see it play out and trying to find my place in it. Because I mean, I can take a risk. Like I'm doing, I just booked the Improv in Tempe, Arizona, which is outside of Phoenix, and that's a 400 seat club, and I'm doing like a Thursday there. And do I have serious doubts as to whether I can put 400 people in a Tempe Improv? For sure. For sure. But that's the thing, is it's funny because like I didn't message the Tempe. I didn't send an email to them. Like they got a hold of me, and I want, that's kind of how I feel about a lot of it. It's like when people reach out to me, and they say, hey, we want your comedy. We want you to be a part of our venue. We want you to perform here. And it's nice because that affords me the opportunity to kind of have like, not the upper hand, but a little bit more skin in the game as far as figuring out how to make that happen in a way that'll benefit all of us, because I want to support the venues that support me. Absolutely. And I want to avoid the venues that don't, It is I've had to take a lot of lumps. This is another similarity between wrestling and comedy, is that there's no way to learn. Nobody could teach me this. Like you just have to do it and fail, right, and feel that pain.
100%.
Like I ain't, because part of the problem is that I'm not listening to nobody. That's one of my issues, man. Is I kind of do my own thing because I'm stubborn as all hell.
Well, you brought up that you were weird earlier, and I wanted to say to you, that's just who the fuck I mean. Part of the reason that I had so much trouble in the wrestling business is because I just didn't fit the mold ever. And so, that's, I love that. I love that part of, I love weird people. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a bunch of crazy fuckers than
guys. And I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Because, here's the thing, is that I did not quit my job and live this life that's kind of terrifying of not knowing how much I'm going to get paid every week. I don't work at an office. If I want to say some weird shit, You know, like there's the thing, I talk about it on stage sometimes, but when I'm at like the grocery store and like there's a checker there and they ask me how I'm doing, like I tell them how I'm doing, you know. You know, like the other day I was at Safeway and this lady's like, "How are you doing?" And I told her the truth. I was like, I listened to this podcast. I don't remember what podcast it was, but there's this astronaut. I don't know if you know this or not, but even after astronauts retire, they have these PR people that NASA assigns them. But there's this astronaut who's gone rogue. And it's not like talking about aliens or anything, but he just talks about how he didn't really like being an astronaut. And he was like being in space was really boring. And they go, "What did you notice the first time you went into space?" And he said he noticed how terrifying it was that the atmosphere is as thin as it is. And it's like we're laying on a bed and there's a sheet on top of us, and right on top of that sheet is an infinite black. And that's what I told the lady at the grocery store when she asked me how it was doing.
I'm sure she's just like, I just wanted to know a little bit about your day. I didn't want to know about your damn story.
It's funny. That's not the first time I've heard an astronaut say that. Is when what scares the fuck out of you is the first time you get out in space and you look down at the Earth and you realize that the fucking atmosphere that keeps us all alive looks like the skin of an apple.
Yeah.
It scares the bejesus right out of you, you know.
Oh yeah. No kidding.
So I wanted to ask you a question. It's like I read an article by Eddie Van Halen once and his own insecurity, and it was funny the way he talked about what you were just talking about. I would like to get your take on. Do you do the same? Do you have your own same kind of ritual? As you know, every concert that Eddie ever played, he had this ritual where he would go up and he would look from behind the curtain to see if anybody had showed up. And this is Eddie Van Halen, for Christ's sakes, you know. He would always go and go, okay, good, a couple people showed up, you know. And so that was he was so insecure, which I think that's a lot of what drives anybody who goes out there and does, you know, is in front of a crowd. It's that insecurity of whether anybody's going to show up. And then when they do, you know, that's the voice in your head that drives your heels, you know. Yeah. Do you have any rituals yourself that make you feel that way? Or do you go through that kind of anxiety yourself? And how do you deal with that?
I'm too undisciplined for like real rituals or anything like that. I'll do different shit, and then I'll be like, maybe this will become my ritual, and then I'll do some other shit. I'm actually insecure about not having any real rituals. But I'll tell you this. The ticket sale thing. So like about 3 years ago, I was lifting a box of records and I felt this weird pop in my abdomen. But I had a big show that night, so I was like, meh, I'll deal with this later. And then 4 months after that, I started getting like really bad like indigestion. And so I was like, oh, maybe I should get this abdomen thing checked out, you know? Yeah. And because I never felt really any pain, but I could feel like something had moved around. I'm feeling it right now as we're talking. So I was like, okay, like something happened. I went to the doctor and immediately they're like, you need to go get an MRI. Like this is bad. And I go and they do the MRI, and basically it was nothing. Like I tore a muscle in my abdomen. I don't need any surgery or anything like that. It's just like a little piece of muscle in my abdomen that tore. It's probably more like a genetic thing than anything else, you know. But anyway, I was like, well, what the hell's up with this indigestion, you know? And I went and I talked to my doctor, and my doctor's like, have you been experiencing any more stress? And I was like, yeah, I have been, because I've been doing this full time now for 4 years. And the first year I just went so hard and it was so exciting. And it was like, okay, like I'm doing this show and this show and this show. And like years 2 and 3 got a little bit trickier, you know, because I'm realizing, okay, like you can take a risk here and then you need this. And then what if tickets don't sell here? And basically what happened was I became like really scared all the time that I wasn't going to sell tickets. And I'm like, oh, I need to work hard. And I'd be like, oh no, tickets aren't good on this show. I need to promote this one, or I need to promote that one. And here's the thing that I had to learn is that I don't have to feel like shit to work hard. You know what I mean? I don't have to like, and also that at a certain point you can do everything that you can. And sometimes like shit's just going to suck. And what helped me a lot with that is I got a therapist, and that's really helped, along with my usual like meetings and shit that I do, and it's been a game changer, and I like to, even when I'm on different podcasts and stuff, is it especially like men, I know that it's a different world than it used to be, and like it's not as frowned upon as it used to be, but man, like therapy like has changed my game, to where I feels like I can still experience all like the ups and the pops, like we're talking about, Max. Like I can still be there for the pops, but I've gotten like help to deal with the lows and to deal with the stress. And I still get some indigestion sometimes, but it's not nearly as bad. And it's changed everything. So like when I get to the venue, hopefully there's a good crowd, but usually it's okay. And even if it's a smaller crowd, like that provides me an opportunity to work on new jokes and be really weird. And that's usually what I do in front of a small crowd. Some of the shows that I've done in front of small crowds are some of the best shows I've ever done. I've done shows where, I'm doing 45 minutes to an hour, and there's occasionally I'll riff for half that time, just make shit up off the top of my head, and people like that. They're like, this is kind of a special thing that we're seeing.
How often are you dealing with hecklers and stuff? Because I see some videos sometimes of once in a while, you'll amuse the heckler instead of like making it difficult for them.
A nice thing about a lot of my jokes being about jail and homelessness and like sketchy shit, and also being 6'6" and 360 pounds, is I don't deal with them as much as other comics do. And I hate to say this,
keep off the stage and break their fucking neck.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm not a violent dude.
Considering he could fucking pull my spine out of my body.
Like I'm not a violent dude, but I'm not a pushover either. You know what I mean?
But your persona on stage and the fact that you were homeless and lived a homeless life.
Oh yeah.
Anybody would, it's like fucking with a wrestler. There's just certain.
Oh
people,
yeah.
You bring something to the table that the average person is not going to take a chance. That you definitely, that you got a fucking gun underneath the blue tarp.
Yeah, no, I've been through enough in my life to realize that like I can be kind to everyone I meet, but still bow to no man. You know what I mean? And anybody who wants me to do that, we're not going to play that game. Like I don't do that tough guy shit, man. Like if I'm at a bar or something, and dude, it still happened. It's funny. It just happened in Ashland. This guy was like trying to be. What's funny is I'll make jokes. Like that's the thing, is like I'll diffuse that situation with jokes. But if that's not going to diffuse the situation, like I'll fight you too. Like I don't want to, but I will. Like I'm scared, but I'll do it.
It's so funny. It's so funny that you say that, because that's exactly the way. My mother from the very early age, she taught me. I was dealing with bully issues in school, and she, not me personally, but other bullies, and she used that opportunity when she realized I was going to be a big motherfucker as well. She sat me down and she said, you're faced with a choice, son. You're either going to be a protector and somebody who looks after the bullied, or you're going to be a bully. And she said, a bully is a lonely fucking life. So, decide now, that you want to be that guy that looks after the downtrodden instead of downtrodden those same folks. And I always really, I'm so glad, because I'm like you, as I used to be a bouncer. I read you were a bouncer.
Yeah, I was a bouncer for a long time.
I took great fucking pride in the fact that the only time I ever had to fight was a guy on PCP, and I couldn't appeal to his reason, but I would always opt for, I had all kinds of great lines like, I hate fighting because no matter what, both of us are going to get hurt. So why don't we just fucking not do this? And
Yeah.
I don't want to get hurt, and I know you don't want to get hurt. So why even bother? Let's just calm the fuck down and laugh about shit and try to move on. And
I love that, dude. Yeah, that's the move.
And quite frankly, I as I watch your comedy, because I can tell that that's the same kind of personality traits you have. That's where you get your whole life motive, that it creates the person that you are and creates so much of your comedy.
Yeah. I used to tell guys when I was bouncing at the bar, I'd be like, hey man, listen, I got a couple complaints. I ain't worried about it, but what I want you to try to do is to be the second loudest guy in this bar.
That's a good
Used to say that to people and they get a kick out of it. There's been some moments. I always love telling this story. My favorite bouncing story is it was a really slow night. We got two bartenders. We got a bar in the back. It's a heavy metal bar. And I remember this really weird guy came in, and I was like, usually I wouldn't let him in, but I'm like, whatever, I'm bored. I wanted to fuck with the bartenders. I could tell he was harmless too. He wasn't like a violent guy. He was just really strange, and he shows me his ID. He goes up to the bar and he orders a beer, right? And Jay, the bartender, turns around. He's pouring him the beer, right? When he does that, the guy reaches over the bar and grabs one of those sugar containers from like a diner. You know what I'm talking about? With the little flip top.
With the little flap on it?
Yeah, with the little flap on it, right? And so Jay's pouring him this beer, and he tips that sugar container back and starts dumping sugar into his mouth, right?
Oh,
and
good.
Jay turns around and he's like, what are you doing? And the guy goes, nothing. And all this sugar's flying out of his mouth. And he goes, get the hell out of here. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you got to go. And Jay's kind of mad at me. He's like, dude, Sam, stop sending these people in here, right? Anyway, check this out, right? About an hour later, I'm sitting out in front of the bar, right? And here comes this guy again. And he walks right up to me and shows me his ID. And I start laughing. I'm like, man, listen, I cannot let you in here, okay? I'm like, do you remember earlier tonight? And he was like, no. And I go, well, you came in here and you ordered a beer. And when Jay turned around, you started drinking our sugar. Like, I can't let you in. And the guy goes, that's a rumor. And walks off. Yeah. And to this day, anytime my wife gets mad at me for something that I did, I will go, that's a rumor.
That's great. I'm going to remember that one, brother.
Yeah, it's pretty
So do you live in Astoria? Is that what I heard?
No, I live in Olympia. I'm an Olympia boy.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
a couple things I wanted to say is the funny part about Astoria is my wife and I, we used to do these. I worked in Beaverton, Oregon. My wife and I managed a senior community in Beaverton, and we would on Friday night when we'd get off work, we would just get in our car and start driving, and we'd go to the West Coast and discovered all these amazing places.
Dude, it's so cool out there.
Crossing the bridge on the Columbia, the famous Astoria Bridge.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
You get to the other side, it's so funny because two of the first places that are available in Washington, because people talk about, how depressing it is to live in like Seattle because it rains all the time and it's dark. Well, I guess the state of Washington wanted to continue that rep by naming the fucking army base there is Cape Disappointment.
Yeah.
And on the right, the exit is Dismal Niche.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, what the fuck? Who names the place Cape Disappointment? And over here to your right is Dismal Niche. Wow, I guess we don't know what that place is like to live. Do you envision going to Dismal Niche and going, well, this place is gorgeous. Why would they call it that?
Next time I do comedy in Astoria, I'm going to bring that up.
That's so great.
That's
I thought that
was, I'm going to use that.
That's such a beautiful thing, man. I love that about the coast of Washington. It's such a Washington and Oregon are so beautiful anyway.
Well, I know that in Astor or in the Short Circuit movie, like I think the first one anyway, they had like a factory or whatever that looked like it was been recorded at a military base, and the robot Johnny Five had to go across the bridge, the John Astor Bridge, to go into Astoria, and I didn't know that may have been that army base that maybe where they did that at.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
for
the Washington side, the Cape Disappointment is we actually went there. It's actually a big military base, and had they armed it in World War II, so in
Yeah.
case he showed up and it's an amazing place.
It actually got, what's crazy is it actually got fired upon by a Japanese sub one time.
A submarine, right?
Yeah, and they think they got the sub too, because they just blew the thing. They just blew it to high heaven. If you keep going down the coast too, I mean, in Tillamook, Oregon, there's this.
Oh my God, I love it.
It's the weirdest place. They have this air museum there, and it used to be.
It's awesome. You fucking across that hangar, it's just
it's so big because they had dirigibles. They had like those giant balloons there,
right?
And it's really cool. And one of those things one of those hangars actually burnt down. And it was one of those fires where they didn't even try, because they just knew there's just nothing they could do. And I think they were actually storing hay like within the thing too. I'm trying to remember the name of the place. Oh, Fort Stevens. That's it. Fort Stevens is on the Oregon side, and that's where the sub went after.
I have a great thing I want to tell you about Tillamook. So my wife and I, they're fucking creamery there, right?
Yeah.
To die for. And if you're a fat guy, you know about the fucking Tillamook Creamery, because they make best ice cream. They got fucking all their cheeses are there. So we literally, that would be our destination every weekend, is ended up in Tillamook, so we could go fucking buy food from there. And as we're driving towards Tillamook, when you're heading towards it from the south, you see the high school, and it's got the name of their mascot. And I always we would start laughing, because we would always envision. So now you got, here's the region that you've got these badass fucking football teams and baseball teams. You got the Beavers and the Badgers and the fucking, the Lions and the Bears.
Yeah.
Cheesemakers.
Yeah.
Cheesemakers. Cheesemakers, rah. I mean, somehow, no matter how fucking tough you paint the picture of a cheesemaker, you just don't see him as an
happening.
Sorry, you don't.
I did a show a couple times in Tillamook, Oregon, and depending on what the weather is like, I've actually I left that show, and there was a fog had kind of set in, and I had smelled it a little bit when I came out. So it's something about dairy cows and what they feed them. And I talked about it on stage. I think they just have permanent diarrhea, these dairy cows, and they just blast shit everywhere. But here's the thing. So I came out, and there was this fog, and the air was really still. And I've never smelt a shit smell that strong in my life. I felt like first off, I could taste it. I was really happy because I was actually headed to the next town after the show, and I was really happy. And when I got to the next place, I was like, I need to change my clothes and take a shower because that smell was on me. And I shit you not, this is really a thing that I think. I know it's foggy, but I feel like I could see it. I feel like I could see the stink in the air.
You know what's funny? What's funny about that is then you can also add, and I don't know if it's still pervasive in Eureka, but anytime you're around a lumber industry, then you've got the fucking pulp mill smell.
Oh, yeah.
Eureka, California has one of the most treacherous fucking.
I love that smell though.
Add that to a dairy smell, and honestly, that to me, that would almost be like you could capture that and drop that on the city and kill everybody in the city.
You know what?
Fucking horrible.
You know what's gross is that, I grew up outside of Tacoma there, and Tacoma was famous. The Tacoma aroma is what they call
Ah,
all these pulp mills. And the other thing, but they shut down the pulp mills, but they still had a rendering plant. So like
oh
when
God.
livestock die,
Oh,
they'll boil them
that's
basically.
where
And
all
he's
pet
like,
food comes from, the rendering plant.
yeah. It's like pet food. But what's funny is that it just winds up smelling like hot dogs.
Oh,
And I love the smell of the rendering plant. Like I always drive through Tacoma and I was like, man, I really want a hot dog right now.
That's crazy.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, we
one
appreciate.
thing I
Well,
want to tell you just real quick, Sam, is
yeah.
I got a buddy who plays in Led Zeppelin. Are you a rock fan? Are you a rock and roll?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got a buddy who plays in a Led Zeppelin tribute band out
Oh,
of
sick.
out of Olympia,
Oh,
and
no
the name of
kidding.
the band is No Quarter. So
Yeah.
if you ever see them out there, they're really amazing, and they're from Olympia. So
Dude,
he
there
lives
was
there now, and I grew up with this guy. He was in my band. He and I were on a national championship wrestling team together. We
oh
wrestled
wow.
professionally together. But anyway, I just had to put a plug in for No Quarter because they're amazing. And if you've never seen them or you're ever on the same card or buy them,
Yeah.
you ever see the name No Quarter, you'll remember that. But just
There
go up to
was
the drummer. The drummer in the band is the guy I went to school with, and it's a great band. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there.
when I was a bouncer, there was a Metallica cover band. I think they were called Scorched Earth, and they would come through McCoy's, and they would play Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets like straight through, and then they would do like a medley of like the later Metallica songs that don't suck.
Right.
It was really it was like one of the better shows I had ever seen. They probably played for like 3 hours. It was actually impressive physically to watch both the drummer and the guitarist do that.
Yeah.
To play that stuff. But
That's what's
yeah.
amazing about Led Zeppelin is, whenever you, to me, if you're gonna put out there the greatest drummer that ever lived, John Bonham's got to
Yeah,
be.
he's on the short list for sure.
Well, we appreciate you, Sam. I mean, really, for being a part of the show, and I hope you enjoyed your surprise there with
Yeah,
Max.
man, that was awesome, Max. It was great. Frankie, do you got any questions that you want to ask me, man? I feel like me and Max are just shooting the shit over here. I feel like you didn't really have much hosting duties or anything.
I mean, I the whole purpose of this mostly was to to do an interview with you, but also to surprise you with Max, because I figured if Max is interested in what you're doing, which I knew he would be, that I wanted to see how you guys interacted, and it seems like you guys are like best friends now.
I get along with wrestlers really well. I feel like I might not have ever wrestled, but I feel like I understand wrestling. I you know what I mean? Like well, I shouldn't say I understand wrestling, but I understand and appreciate wrestlers. I was telling Frankie while you were gone, what's funny is that I was doing a gig in Eugene, and a lot of my job is social media, and a lot of times it sucks. I work really hard at it, and I look down, and I get a little ping if I get a new follower that has a verification or whatever. So if like another comedian follows me, and I get this ping, and I look down, and it was MVP, a great wrestler. And what's funny is I saw he followed me, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I already followed him. I sent him a message on Instagram, and me and MVP started messaging back and forth, and a similar conversation to what me and Max just had about like what it means to sacrifice for your art, and the same thing. Obviously, like the wrestlers physically, it's a whole different ball game than us as comedians. But a lot of the mental feelings being the same thing, that the ups and downs, and
Absolutely,
it was really neat, man. I'm actually, it's funny. I think I'm going to shoot him a message right after this podcast. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I can, I have similarities too with that because this whole podcast idea comes from me not being able to get a normal radio job. You know,
Yeah.
around my area, everybody's so fucking fickle about they're so afraid of change and new blood, or if you don't know a lot about certain things or whatever, then they don't want to. They you know, I was born with a cleft palate, you know, so I had speech and I had all types of stuff, you know, go on in school. So when I decided to try to do radio, I was nervous too, just like you talking about. But I wanted to try it and see how it would go because I knew I could do it if I got the right opportunity. So I volunteered and stuff and had the right opportunity. I didn't finish the course like I didn't graduate from the department, but I volunteered later on when they opened up the volunteers stuff and at the same college that I went to, and I got to learn everything I could possibly try to master. And eventually I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it because I'm not, you know, I'm still learning every day, but I feel like now, all these years later, I have a good grasp on what we're doing because since these people wouldn't give me a job, I kind of call this podcast like a personal middle finger to all those people who have never said I could amount to this type of thing. And we've had hundreds of great guests and stuff. We're going to be getting on closer to our 100th episode here next season. And, you know, we interviewed lots of wrestlers. I mean, that's how Max kind of got on board. We interviewed him. And then, you know, I mean, we had Mr. Anderson on a couple weeks ago. And it's just like, you know, it's weird, you know. I'm happy to get to know all you guys that are in the entertainment business because you're all my heroes because of the fact that you choose not to do a normal 9 to 5. You know, while there are some of us out there who have no other choice but to do a 9 to 5 because nobody will give us a real opportunity. You know, I'm not saying that people have to give you an opportunity, but you know, if you're good, then you should be able to get one.
It's funny you said that because I'll tell you something kind of wild. Is it? I don't feel like I really choose not to do a normal 9 to 5. I feel like though I wandered into an open mic and then I immediately became addicted to comedy. Like the first time I did comedy, I immediately knew I might not have been very good at it, but I immediately knew like this isn't a thing that I do, it's a thing that I am.
Yep.
And then it reached a point where it's like if I want to do this even more, then there's no way I'm going to be able to keep working. And then it's like, and you know, what's weird about it is at that point, then too, what I was dealing with was fear, and familiar fear. And it's the same fear that kept me doing drugs all those years. It's the same fear that still causes me to make bad decisions sometimes. Every shitty decision I ever made, I made it when I was scared or angry, you know?
Yep.
And luckily, I get to make decisions now a lot of times, like agreeing to appear. You know, it's funny. I know that I'm not the easiest guy to nail down. Like I know Frankie, we had, but I never had. Like it's not a thing. Like there's no, and it's no disrespect, and it's no animosity. I'm just very fucking confused.
Were you surprised that I was interested in having you come back, or just the fact that you just try to find time, more or less?
I forgot that I was ever on it, so I I don't know where the hell. Once
this is your second time.
Yeah, I've said this before. I know, dude. You got to understand. I have brain damage, and I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, me and Max, man. I know.
Yeah.
Solidarity, Max.
I want to say the funny part about, you know, like the three of us, the commonality as you listen to us, I think anybody out there listening to us is, you know, one time I was on the road with Vader and he was saying something that I've carried with me my whole life. He goes, you know, we were talking about, you know, what am I going to do? I can't ever go back to working a 9 to 5. And he grabbed my hand and he held my hand up. He goes, yeah, that might be a bit tough to be a 9 to 5 guy carrying that around, you know. and then just add to the fact of personality wise, wrestlers, you know, you can usually, you know, wrestlers are like Mormons. I can spot them a million miles away. And granted, I grew up in a Mormon community, but you know, people who are like us, we come from that, you know, we have that voice in our head that drives our heels. One of my favorite lines from Radar Love by golden earring is the voice in my head that drives my heels. And we all have that, like Frankie, like you were just talking about, when somebody fucking tells you you're not going to do something, that's always when you get the fucking, you get the middle finger. And, and like you, Sam, I heard you talking, and your own self-respect, when you came out from underneath the blue tarp and you fucking decided, I'm not going to fucking keep living my life like this. And you make a decision that you're going to fucking go do something different and change your life. Yeah. That's the voice in all of our heads that drives our heels. And I was blessed at a very fucking early age when I was in a movie when I was 16 that changed my life forever, that fucking created that voice in my head that I have spent my entire fucking life changing or chasing that same exact kind of mentality. And I am naturally attracted to people like that. Those are the folks, like you were saying, Sam. I fucking weird attracts weird, and I love weird, man. My wife said the other day, she goes, I'm just so weird. And I looked her right in the eyes and said, that's why I fucking love you. I love you.
Dude, that rules. Yeah.
That's who I am. I heard you talking about your wife, and I was actually quite jealous because for some reason with me, my wife said she's not huge. She's 5'10", but big women are, for some reason, I found it difficult because usually big women are never attracted to big guys. Usually chicks that are attracted to big guys are fucking 4'10", 100 pounds. Yeah. And I've never had a really big woman, a woman of Wongo that was attracted to me. Luckily, I have a wonderful wife who's amazing, but
I'm working on this joke right now because I was talking about how she's a bigger woman, but she's not very, she's like of average height, and I'm 6'6", and I was talking about how like a lot of regular people's sex shit just doesn't really work for us. Like I was like, we can't really do 69. When we do it, it's like a lowercase I and a parentheses.
What the hell?
Yeah, pretty classy.
Belly button to belly button.
Yeah, and I go, man, this sucks. I guess I'll just lick your knee.
What the hell?
That's fucking great.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate having you on, Sam.
Yeah,
and thanks,
man.
Max, for being a part of this as well. And thanks to you, the audience, even though this was a recorded episode. When I do air this eventually, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this because Sam's a great guy. That's why I want to get to meet you someday, because if you come to the area and I hear about it, I will definitely show up.
Yeah, I'll find my way out there.
Sam, I'm in Twin Falls, Idaho. So
shit.
Yeah,
I did a show there. There was a guy. I did a show in Twin Falls, and what's funny is I'll come back through there because I route through there. I'll do. What's funny is you said a couple places. I'll do comedy in Hood River. I'll keep going down 84. I'll do Boise or Twin Falls, and then go right there to Salt Lake City, and then I can jump to Denver.
So I'll make sure that you communicate with Frankie. Frankie, you're welcome to give him my email address and my phone number, bro. If you're ever in town, shoot me a text. I'm in the wrestling business. When you're a fan of somebody, they call you a Mark, and I'm a Sam Miller.
Oh,
Mark.
That's wonderful, man. That's an honor.
Me too.
You know what's funny? When I get done with this, I don't have anything to do till my kids get home. I'm gonna watch that Nasty Boys tag team. I'll watch classic. Yeah, I love classic wrestling, and I was a big fan of the Nasty Boys.
You'll fucking this one.
Yeah, dude, that's wild, man.
Mick Foley and I's best. It is our swan song. There's no doubt about it.
You guys probably.
Yeah, WWE released a WCW YouTube channel, and they've been putting all the pay-per-views, big events on there for free. So I don't know which match it was or event it was, but I mean, it's probably on there. Or
it's called the Chicago. If you type in Mick Foley and Max or Cactus Jack and Max Payne versus the Nasty Boys, it's going to be up there at the top of the. If it's not the top of the list, it's called the Chicago Street Fight, and it was at the United Center. So.
Got it. My kid just called, so I should probably go. But,
Yeah,
yeah. Thank
All
you
right.
guys very much. You guys have a good day. Okay.
take
Hey,
care.
you too. Thanks, Miss Sam. All right, thanks, Max. I appreciate
Well, I didn't
appreciate
mean.
you doing
I hope
this.
I didn't hurt your feelings, Frankie.
No. Why would you hurt my